Hey, welcome to BNS Spot Movies. I'm always inspired by Nightmare USA, the Stephen Thrower book. So I'm going to share one of the movies that I found thanks to it, and that's Baby Rosemary. I've also been super into John Hayes' films lately. Jumpy Babysitter, The Hang Up, Rue McClanahan's debut film, Hollywood After Dark, End of the World, Garden of the Dead, Grave of the Vampire, the Tales from the Dark Side episode, The Madness Room, Dream No Evil. Speaking of that last film, in which a woman grows up in an orphanage dreaming of the day her father will return, forever living outside the other children around her, only leaving to be a faith healer in a circus. It's pretty incredible. There's no budget, but it has such a strange vision, really powered by Hayes' own issues with his childhood. 6 years later, he'd make this movie, Baby Rosemary, one of the few times, if only, that the same director made both an R-rated film and years later remade it as an adult film. This time he used the name Howard Perkins. This stars Sharon Thorpe as Rosemary. You may recognize her from Sodom and Gomorrah, The Last 7 Days, the Mitchell brothers' attempt at filming the Bible. She's a teacher trapped in a cycle of sexual repression and father fixation that would make Freud scribble notebooks full of findings. And she never knew her dad, grew up in an orphanage, and barely cares about her boyfriend John. That's John Leslie, born really close to me in East Liverpool, Ohio, and one of the golden age of adults' most recognizable stars. They emerged from a theater showing Let's Do It Again and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and while he has sex on his mind, as all men do, she couldn't care less. She's leaving for 3 years to be a teacher and tells him blandly, "I've got to say goodbye to my father tonight." Their lovemaking's barely that, it's perfunctory. He soon departs and returns to a sex worker named Eunice, played by Leslie Bovee, again, golden age porn star. To fulfill his needs, this must be a regular thing because he's given her many of Rosemary's outfits, so that he can do with her what he really wants to do to his virginal girlfriend, and he can't bring himself to unleash his full perversions on her. He worships her from behind while calling her Rosemary's name. Once he finishes, he throws money at her, leaving her unfulfilled and complaining about her back. Rosemary tries to find her father in the flop house where he lives, and instead runs into Ken Scudder, playing Mick, and Monique Carden, who's Kate, who assault her at knife point. She runs away, only to return back to the town 3 years later, as her father's died. She wants to reconnect with Mick, which is strange because he's the man that abused her. Rosemary goes to the funeral home along with John, now a police officer, to identify the body, bring along her students Tracy and Marsh. And Tracy's Candida Royale, who pretty much created feminist adult films, reinvented her career in the late 80s or early 90s. And that's Melba Bruce, who's in Alex de Renzi's Femme Decide.
Yes, I'm afraid Rosemary's father's just passed away.
Oh, sorry. Father Spirit, Father Night.
Well, they'll go on mumbling like this for some time. I'll walk you back to your car.
Rosemary muses, "It was such a nightmare to be a child. Now I'm the adult. Sex is always so degrading, so unclean. I'll teach my girls all the good things, to be pure in mind and body." But the girls are part of a cult that worships sex and end up making it with the funeral director, who has a small apartment filled with horror movie posters of Dracula, Frankenstein, King Kong, the Black Cat. As Rosemary and John watch, the girls chant about eternal wombs. She finally finds an erotic stirring, and she allows John to dry hump her for her going back to Mick, whose rough ways are finally what she needs to get off. Mick gets a job, stops drinking, and starts to treat her right, and guess what? She hates it. He responds by nearly strangling her to death before John saves her life. He gets kicked out, and Mick leaves, promising that the next time he sees her, he's going to kill her. So she takes solace in the dual sapphic arms of her students. Rosemary stares at herself for long stretches in the mirror and hears the voice of her father begging her not to bury him because he's still alive.
"I'm here, behind the vines. Don't let them put me in the grave. Help me."
During the funeral, fog appears everywhere, a demon emerges, the music gets discordant, and everyone in her life, John's now married to Eunice, they all make love to her as Rosemary screams, "Daddy, take me away from this place." It's just pure sadness. She'll never escape as the smoke and strange voices engulf her utterly. This is not an adult Rosemary's Baby, despite the title and the horrible poster. It's weirder and better than that. A Nightmare USA thrower wrote that this is a brutal sex drama that stands as one of Hayes' most disturbing films, with strong echoes of his family trauma theme that incessantly colored his career. A lot of that is because Hayes was raised by an alcoholic uncle and an ancient grandmother, while Sister Dolores was sent to a convent, emerging only to have multiple children and descend into fanatic religious behavior. Dream No Evil, however, is a melancholic circus tent meditation. And let's get into that a little bit. You can find Baby Rosemary on the Cult Picks channel. Dream No Evil appears on the American Horror Project Volume 2, along with Dark August and The Child. It's a must-have from the great folks at Arrow. John Hayes did begin his career producing and directing short subjects. He was even nominated for an Academy Award for 1959's The Kiss. In addition to those roles, he often wrote his own films, and he occasionally appears as an actor. He's in The Shaggy DA. After his initial full-length movie, The Grass Eater, he made 5 Minutes to Love, which, as we said before, is a Rue McClanahan film about a woman named Poochie, a woman who lives in a junkyard, also known as Hollywood After Dark. It was picked up by exploitation godfather Kroger Babb. Hayes would go on to direct Jailbait Babysitter and several adult films, as we said before, Pleasure Zone, Hot Lunch, but probably best known for Grave of the Vampire and Garden of the Dead. Dream No Evil is about Grace, who is Brooke Mills from The Big Dollhouse and The Student Teacher. She grew up in an orphanage where she dreamed of the day her father would return, forever living outside of the other children around her. When she finally does grow up, she goes to work with her adopted foster brother, Reverend Paul Jesse Bundy, Michael Pataki, amazing as always, who's turned his father's church into a circus. For her part, she wears a sexy costume before jumping off a high platform into water that symbolizes Satan falling into hell. He also uses her to faith heal others. Indeed, the movie was made under the title The Faith Healer, while hiding his lust for his adoptive sister. She's already dating their other adopted brother, Dr. Patrick Bundy, yet refuses to have sex with him. As we've seen this happen in the movie. He gets up and starts dating someone else. It seems strange that the brother is at war with her sister. Well, stay tuned. The church makes it to a town where she hears word of her father, Edmund O'Brien, who started his career as a magician, trained by next-door neighbor Houdini before appearing in Mercury Theater plays and films like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, 7 Days in May, and The Wild Bunch. This brings her to a combination funeral home brothel of an undertaker who has her father dead on a mortuary slab. And that undertaker, played by Mark Lawrence, the director of Pigs, also Night Train to Terror. Our heroine wishes her father back to life, and he rises to murder the undertaker in a completely frightening scene that creates one of several breaks in this film with reality. The one issue I might have the film is this narrator reveals the big twist early. The destroyed house on the edge of town that Grace lives in isn't the comfortable home. In her mind, her father doesn't exist. Who knows what the people who came there to see her dance to his Squeezebox songs really saw. But this movie is a crazy film. That the kind of thing, if you're friends with me and I have your number, I'm going to text you in the middle of the night asking you if it's a real movie. But it is. It gloriously is. And I'm going to tell you should go out of your way of seeing it. If you do get the Blu-ray, it's packed with extras, and it has an appreciation by Thrower, which is really great. And it also has an audio interview with Rue McClanahan about how Hayes started her career. So I definitely recommend both sides of this movie. If you're not into adult, I get it. You can watch Dream No Evil, or I would watch both of these films and see how Hayes took it, played around with it, and how he's trying to tell almost the story of his life through regional horror, which is something that fascinates me. And if you love regional horror, good news. My friend Adam Hersey and I have a new podcast that you can find. It's called simply the Nightmare USA Podcast. In each episode, we're going to be going into a deep dive into how we've experienced the films in Thrower's books, what regional cinema means to us, and how, where we see films. And we're coming at them from two totally different points of view. I think it's going to be really exciting. And I'll have the link in here so you can check out the first episode. Thanks for listening to this show, though. BNS About Movies will remain. And I will say I'll probably cover a little bit less of the Nightmare USA films on it because that's what that show's all about. This one will, again, just be whatever I feel like it being about. Probably a lot of SOV, probably just a lot of weirdness. But thanks for listening. You can find my site at bnsaboutmovies.com. Write to me at bnsaboutmovies@gmail.com. Or you can donate to the show at ko-fi.com/BNS About Movies.